Hi, you guys. Buzzsaw Benny here. uh, I am gonna try to talk quickly because all the things just fly out of my head. Um, uh, okay, I was gonna talk about my relationship with my ex. I'm watching this show, Better Together. There is Sheila Walsh this time, Dee Dee, somebody, Lori Crouch is the one who heads it up. Sheila Walsh was on the 700 Club years ago. I didn't watch 700 Club then, but I've heard her testimony, and she also interviews David Jeremiah all the time. She works with him, and then another girl. Well, I've heard of them all, and they change because they have different topics. This is a women's show. Well, maybe since yesterday or so, they've been talking about friendships and how they can be toxic. And they said a few things that I myself have already known. And one of the verses they're using as a guardrail is guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life, and several other verses, because we can all be in relationships that are toxic, and even within the church there can be narcissists, okay, and they're in the church for that purpose, to prey upon people, because a narcissist is basically out looking for people they can manipulate or control, right? They're not talking about that, but they mention the word narcissist a couple of times. And that's who my ex is. So, a couple of, like, once a long time ago, I heard, and they said similar stuff. I heard an analogy. You cannot drive, like you're in a car and you're in park and there's another car in front of you. You cannot drive, you cannot go forward as long as that car in front of you is in park. And what that means to me, I heard a long time ago, is what they said is you cannot align yourself with people who are not pointing to God. They're not pointing to God, and they're not leading you. I'm trying to cover my chest here. Sorry. So that I didn't expect to do a video, really. So you can't align yourself with people who aren't helping you grow in Christ, like a mentor, or aren't keeping your eyes on the Word of God and His power and His promises and His truth. And they, so when a relationship gets toxic because of that, because there are things in a relationship that are other than the Word of God, because relationship is God, and God is of God, and all this. So, but when the extracurricular things in the friendship are toxic because it's all about them, or it's all about them controlling you to where they're going to steal your soul. They want you as a clean slate so they can mold you, right? They don't want any part of who you are. They want to destroy who you are, like they're doing to America. They want to tear it down so they can redo it, right? And there's nothing wrong with you to be torn down. You're who you are. And if you've got some flaws and stuff, fine. We can always better ourselves. But, there comes a time when it gets ridiculous. So, anyway, because not everything's wrong with you, right? But a narcissist wants to be that way. So, an analogy they gave is that person is bleeding. Okay, either they're like a Hitler, like I've told you before, how we're all born with a certain personality, but if we feed that personality with a bad character, like my sisters and I were talking on group text yesterday or day before yesterday, having some kind of a therapy session, kind of in a way, and it turned out to be, well, I forgot what I was saying. So you you're not Jesus to anybody. We'll just go there. You can't be anybody's Jesus. So when a narcissist comes into the picture, and you're the type of person that a narcissist looks for, okay, because they're cunning. They know who they want and who they can't be friends with, because they can't. Kind of like my dad used to say, and I never liked this saying. He said, keep them honest. You got to keep them honest. And I said, Daddy, if I got to keep them honest, I don't want them. If I'm the type of person that they can't manipulate, then they're not gonna. But if I am a nice person and the type that they think they can manipulate, oh, I'm first game. I'm game on, because they can get away with it. So they choose people that they can get away with it. There's nothing wrong with that person. They don't have weaknesses. They're just preying upon that person's goodness and kindness and love and all that, because they want to kill it. They may not know that. Some may know that. So anyway, these people are either wounded, like a Hitler. Maybe he was wounded as a child, and his personality, like my group sisters were talking, his personality, some children, like I've said before, will grow up and they say, I'm never going to be like my mom and dad. And they don't do those wrong things, and they don't agree and all this. But some of our personality is inherited. But if you have the type of personality that had a horrible upbringing, and that type of personality, you can't decipher the wounds, and maybe it was too horrific for you to overcome, I don't know, as an adult, then you will build a character around that wounded personality that God gave you. But we're responsible for our character. So when you take those wounds to your personality, and you build a character around that is sickening and demonic, so that you can cope with the past, then you become like a Hitler. You become like, you chose to follow a bad way and use bad character to feed, so that you can get vengeance or something, whatever's wrong with your mind there. So then you become a narcissist, which is your Jesus to yourself. And then you want all these other people around here to be your Jesus. And one of the examples they gave is, you're cut, you're bleeding, you're wounded. And instead of fixing the wound, for Jesus to fix the wound, you're bleeding all over everybody. You're bleeding all over everybody else. Kind of like the David Wilkerson. And then you want to take it out on them. You want them to be your Jesus. I've told my ex before that same thing. I said, I am not Jesus. I cannot be Jesus to you in any way, shape, or form. Whether you want to try to crucify me so that somebody has to pay, or whether, I don't know what you're doing, but you're trying to break me down, make me a zombie. And then I've told him, I'm like, even if I did everything, towed the line, like you're a dictator, and I did everything and never did anything wrong, or did everything you wanted, and I tried to never make you scream or get upset, you'd hate me. You'd hate me for that. You would. Because number one, it's just disgusting, and that's not how humanity works. Number two, you'd hate me because there's a Bible verse about that. It's and a lot of the proverbs came to life for me being around narcissists a couple of times in my life. And I forget, let's see, what was it? It was something about the offender hates those who are afflicted by it. So in other words, they're afflicting you and you're afflicted, and they even hate you for being afflicted by their offenses. Yeah. I mean, if any of you know that proverb, you know which one I'm talking about. It's not the word offender, but it's similar to that. You know, they're offending, and then yet they hate you because you're being okay. So anyway, then they were using the one about the bleeding all over the place. And okay, so I'll give you an example. My ex, I'll just jump in the middle. No backstory, but you know, this is just one example. On the phone, we've been over this many times, and he'll start yelling. He'll start getting upset, and I've done nothing. He just wants to be angry because that's a form of manipulation. If they start yelling or getting pissy or aggravated or irritated at you, they want to strike fear in you because you're that type, right? Oh, I don't want to offend people, or I want to get along. I'm not confrontational. I want to da-da-da. Now, I'm kind of tough love, like a mama bear to some, but generally I'm not. You know, when I talk about the Bible, it makes me angry that the enemy is out there devouring people. So yeah, I can get a little mean on my videos, but because I'm mad at the enemy wreaking havoc because people don't know the word, maybe. So when I'll say, hey, you know, because we're divorced now, so he can't threaten me. So I can kind of stick up for myself now. So I'm like, you're yelling, you're blah, blah. Oh, no, I'm not. See, he'll catch himself because he knows he wants to someday get me to love him again, right? So I can say the sky is black, and he'll say, no, it's not. You know that old thing that they say, I say the sky is blue and you say it's not. I say it's this and you say it's not. Very disagreeable. It's controlling. So I'll catch him right in the act. And just like that, oh, no, I'm not. No, I wasn't yelling. No, I didn't yell. No, I didn't yell. I wasn't yelling. In other words, I'm the liar. I'm the crazy. It was all my imagination. I, in fact, used to tell him all the time that. I used to say, you're calling me a liar then. You're calling me a liar. This would be right before I got kicked out, right? When I finally had enough and my mind couldn't take it anymore and my mouth just started blurting stuff out. And then there you go. There's the door, because you smite the scorner and you will get a blot. So that's an example. So they're talking about friendships here and toxicity and how you can try to maybe mend a relationship and then keep them at arm's length and then see how it works. But you don't want to be suspicious of other people in your life because of what they did to you. Okay? First of all. Second of all, you you keep that person at an arm's length. Okay, so I forgot where I was going. So, but because with my ex and I, we would go round and round, and you know, guys like that, you can't even go to a counselor because they're gonna lie to the counselor, and then when you're talking, they're gonna say, I don't remember ever saying that. I never said that. Again, I'm the liar. I never said that, or I broke him of that, so he doesn't say that as much. He'll instead say, I don't remember saying that, but oh, how convenient you don't remember saying that, okay, or doing that. It's just, okay, so with this relationship over since 2019, January 1st or 7th, when the divorce was final, he has wanted to remain friends. And off and on, throwing bait out there like, I'll take you back, I want you back, I love you. He'll say that, I still love you. I've never said I love you back. Until that one time in Texas when I thought he was being humble. Anyway, but not since then. So when these, however many years, 6 years being friends, over the phone, and he'll visit when I'm the afterthought. He's already in the States for other things, and I'm like, oh, while I'm in the States, what da 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 da. Plus he has a brother that moved out here. So over these years, there's been, say, counseling over the phone or talking. I have talked till I'm blue in the face. I have talked circles. I have talked broken record. And he acts like he's listening and he acts like he understands it. But then 5 minutes later or a day later, he again does the same thing like it was never said. Okay, that is a narcissist. So when these girls are talking about friendships, and if you have to decide that it's not fixable, it's not workable, but yet that person wants to stay in your life, if they're not aligning you to get closer to Christ. Now, my ex is so far from a relationship, in my opinion, but he does kind of align me, keep me aligned in the aspect that he drives me crazy, that I go to the Word a lot. But I go to the Word anyway. But I still have that promise from God that Jesus will talk to him face to face. So, and I'll be friends with anyone, but as soon as you cross the line and you become toxic, I'm getting off the phone with you, or you can leave, or you can get out. But I'll get over it. And then the next time, I'll be fine with you. It's a clean slate, but you try that again, you're out again. Because I have almost zero tolerance anymore. I used to have a very high tolerance and giving people the benefit of the doubt. But over all this time now, no. I have a zero tolerance. It's really not acceptable. But anyway, so because of that promise that Jesus said he'll talk to him face to face, I do stay friends with him, but it's at an arm's distance, and he will give me problems because of that sometimes. Oh, you don't care, you don't this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm tired of wasting my breath. We've already talked. And then he'll again stir up strife to try to, point the finger at me. And I'm like, no, we've talked about this already 100 times. I thought you heard me. I thought you were listening, but you weren't. And I have to keep repeating myself. Do you want me to go ahead and repeat it again? Because maybe one of these days it'll stick. I mean, I don't mind, but I really don't want to, because he doesn't want to know. He doesn't want to grow, and he doesn't want to change. This is what God told me once about somebody else in my life like this, that I was trying to help, like give them the benefit of the doubt. Let them run all over me sometimes. Love them anyway. Forgive them over and over. And yet they looked at me like I was a stupid idiot fool. And God told me one day, he said, they don't want help. They want to be sick. They like it. So don't mess with that. So yeah, I did. I stopped and I realized, and it helped me out a lot, because that was very painful to keep getting stepped on. There was something else, but anyway, I was reading a lot of good Psalms. I didn't really realize this top, and this is my Hebrew Bible. It's pretty cool. What they'll do in the Hebrew Bible is instead of James, they use the book is Jacob. because some say, I don't know if this is a fact, but some say the book of James was really the book of Jacob. But in honor of King James, who allowed them to translate it and print it, they named the book of Jacob after King James and called it James. Another thing about the Hebrew Bible, and it's in a slightly different order, I think. I don't remember if that's part of the difference. Yeah, I think it is in a slightly different order in the Old Testament. Another thing about it is, let's see if I can find one. I was in Psalm 103, and it reads a little differently. It's reading like the New Living Translation. Pastor Nolan Allen reads out of that a lot because he said that translation is the closest to the Hebrew and Greek. Okay, the Old Testament is written in Hebrew because that's what they spoke in the ancient Jewish original people, Jews. They speak in Hebrew now in Israel, but it's not the ancient Hebrew. That ancient Hebrew is pretty much lost. They have tried to become as close to it as they can, but the original Hebrew is pretty much lost. They have been able to retrieve a lot of things, but that they haven't really. But they've come close. Let me find a page that's not all marked up. So this is Psalm 109. And do you see how this is dark? In bold dark is very dark compared to the other words. Do not. Okay, I'll read it to you. So what that means in Hebrew, the original Greek, okay, then the New Testament was written in Aramaic, I think, and Greek, because Aramaic and Greek was the language of that day in New Testament. That's why above the cross, it was written in 3 languages, Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, because those were the 3 languages of the day. There was the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the whatever seas were speaking Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, and then Jesus spoke Aramaic mostly. And then there were the Greeks, because they ran the place. They were in captivity under something like that. But they spoke Greek. So the New Testament is a lot in Aramaic and Greek. Well, this is Psalms. That's old. So let me then see if I can find something in the New. Okay, well, anyway, in the Old, what this Psalm 109, it says, to the chief musician, a Psalm of David, do not keep silent, O God of my praise. So that's in bold letters. In this Bible, that means in the original Hebrew, it was repeated twice. They repeated it twice. So anything in bold lettering here, it's repeated twice. Do not forsake me until I have known your strength to this generation, your power to each one that is to come. So you repeat it again. Do not forsake me until I have shown your strength to this generation, your power to each one that is to come. Do not be far from me. Do not be far from me. Oh God, do not be far from me. Do not be far from me. Oh my God, make haste for my help. Do not ever let me be put to shame. It says, in you, Lord, do I put my trust. Psalm 71. Do not ever let me be put to shame. Do not ever let me be put to shame. So whenever it's in thick letters, they say, original Hebrew, that means it was repeated twice. So, yeah. Psalm 109, to the chief musician, a Psalm of David. Do not keep silent, O God of my praise. Do not keep silent, O God of my praise. For the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are open against me. They have spoken against me with a lying tongue. They surrounded me also with words of hatred and fought against me without a cause. Oh my, I was already reading this before they came on. And this is so true. This is about narcissism, and it's everywhere. It has infiltrated, aided everywhere, even in the church. So, anyway, I just want to encourage you guys that if there are people in your life, like a spouse or a child or a friend, and you keep trying to make it work, but you don't understand why it's really not working, well, that's why. That's why. They haven't surrendered to Christ, and so they're looking for other Christs to be their Christ. And you'll never be able to go forward. You'll never be able to go forward. They're a parked car, and you're trying to go forward, and you can't. Another example they gave is, and I couldn't hear it very well because my TV's cut in and out, but she was saying something about an obstacle in between you. If there's an obstacle between you, there's really nothing that can be done with that. If that obstacle can be moved away from between the two of you, then yeah, you can salvage something. But if this is what I think she was going to say, because I couldn't hear the whole thing. So yeah, if that obstacle, like with my ex and me, the obstacle is his obstinance. If he doesn't want to surrender to Christ. He likes it the way it is, where Christ is in his neat little box over here in this compartment and category, and then his other life is the way he lives it. So there are people that like it like that, and they don't want to surrender to Christ because it's more fun to keep him in a box, and they're proud and whatever else the other problems are. They serve themselves. They're wicked. They're evil. Okay? The Bible talks about people like that all day long and calls them evil. It is, they're choosing it because it's the easy way out, because it's more gratifying to live in the flesh. And anyway, yeah, my sisters, there are some wounds from the upbringings, and because of that, as a child, when you're a child and you get wounded like that, you don't know how to cope. What child does? No child does. The only thing they have is the personality that God gave them. Whether it was passed on through one of their parents, that personality, God help them if they got the kind of personality like my ex, who didn't have a good upbringing either. Yet instead of being the type of personality that says, I'll never be that way with my kids, instead he goes on to repeat what he learned that he hated. He hated it. He'll say to this day he hates it, but he's exactly the same. And it's not that he turned into his father, no. It's because his propensity with the personality he inherited and also God gave him, he has that propensity to just go ahead and do it the way they did it, even though he hated it. Okay? Then there's others who hate it, know it's wrong, even though their personality is wounded. They struggle and stumble and trip and fall through doing it the right way. They never were taught the right way, but they have the fortitude, the God-given fortitude. They chose not to give in. That's the difference. When your personality has been wounded, and your soul and your spirit as a child, and you're a child, you don't know how to deal with it, so you adopt certain characters to help you cope. Now, in life, as you grow, some of those bad characters fall away, you outgrow them, whatever, they fall to the wayside. And then you might just say, I don't like that one. Let me try a new one. Something like this. You might like do that. But then as you get an adult, if there are certain things, traumas and PTSD, and you can't get over certain things, you will, just like a blind person, their hearing is better. Just like a deaf person, their eyesight is better. Okay? Like that kid I was talking about the other day with fetal alcohol syndrome. He knew he was brain damaged and he hated it. He had a lot of pride. Maybe some of you who have known mildly retarded children, they're usually very mean. And this has something to do with the brain, I think, because I knew a nurse who was some high-end nurse. She dealt in the ICU with brain injury patients. And she said that like a pastor or normally nice people, or because their families would be there, and because of this brain injury, these patients would say the vilest things. And it was a brain injury. It was coming out of somewhere that wasn't even them. It was because of the injury. Now, maybe that's the way with certain mild retardation, but I tell you, this child he knew he was different, and he didn't like it. Oh, I want to be like this and I want to be like that, but he couldn't. And so because he, when I said, you see, your eyesight gets better if you're deaf, your hearing gets better if you're blind. Well, when he couldn't speak very well or express himself very well, he made up for it in manipulation and meanness. I said that spinster at church taught him. Now, she did have a child, but it wasn't her child. It was her brother's child. Who her brother didn't want the child, a little girl. And so he gave that child to his sister, who's the spinster, who never got married. Okay, so she raised her niece as a baby. And she also homeschooled this kid that had mild retardation. And he was I had watched him before myself as well, and I tried to homeschool him too. He is the most defiant. He will shake even the strongest of foundations because he's that good. He was that cunning at manipulative to shake you, to get you to do something you don't normally do, not do or say. So because he couldn't speak well and express himself, he made up for it. So see, that's an example, whether it was from the brain damage, I don't know, or whether it was the choice to have a certain personality and he was adopted, by the way. He was actually dropped off at 7 years old. He is a very sad story. Anyway, so I'm just saying that we can have wounds as a child, and if you can't cope, that's what I was saying one day about when you come to Christ, sometimes it's instant, whatever. Well, when you don't, and your character and your personality are so intertwined and you don't know what's my character, what's my real personality anymore, because you have, hidden you've tried to cope all your life. Well, anyway, yeah, it's just because some of my sisters, like I was telling you about my other sister, she seems kind of more like the type of like those women in Sex in the City, and a Joyce Meyer could really reach them. And in fact, I saw Joyce Meyer today. Oh, she was throwing out Bible verses. I'm like, where's my tablet? I got a tablet everywhere, but I couldn't find a pen and paper. And I'm like, oh, I love these verses. I know these verses. Where are those? I haven't heard those in so long. And, I wanted to, and her history is heinous. if you don't know her history, it's incredible that she has turned out the way she has. What else was I going to say about her, or about that? But, darn. Oh, because my sister and stepsister, if they're okay, so Joyce Meyer said something, and she said, oh, if I told you about what my next sermon is, you wouldn't show up. She go, okay, I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you what it is. And now you can go, whatever, blah, blah. Okay, the point is that when she said what it was about, she said it's called about pride and humility. The whole audience roared. They were so hungry. See, the human nature really does, what is it? Strive. They have, not strive. The human nature, I don't care how arrogant and high-minded you are, you really do wish you could be humble and not proud. Okay? What I was going to say about Joyce Meyer in the old days, I never really liked, I loved her, but I hated the audience. I really did, because she is good and she is funny, but the audience would laugh. They shouldn't be laughing at that. It's like, this isn't a comedy show. This isn't a comedy show. She's making light of your faults, and while you're laughing at it, that means you're that way. She's not here to feed your faults, people, women, and men go too, but not many. But I'm like, look, women, she's not here to make your evil, wicked pride and controlling and henpecking funny. That's not how she meant that. She's just trying to make you feel more comfortable so she can reach your proud ass. You know, like my sister, who's got that problem, maybe back then, because she raised 2 boys and she tried really hard not to be that way, and she ended up hurting herself and the marriage, and because it would seep out and be yucky and vile, like bleeding all over people, the whole family, right? Kind of like what Joyce Meyer did in her early days. That's how I know she can help women like of that way. But I didn't like her audience, the way they laughed at her like she was a comedian, and it's like, this is not funny. I know your type, ladies. I got a sister like you, and it is not fun, and it is not funny how you treat us. Even though I wasn't around that sister much, sometimes little bits was like, I had to throw it down. I've never been in a fight in my life, but my mouth, if my brain has had enough with my high tolerance, and my brain starts shutting down, and my mouth will take over. And I said it in an earlier video, I will make you cry. Because I learned this in Al-Anon, and I stopped going because of this. In the pamphlet from day one, it says right there in the pamphlet, it says, the more you do for that manipulative alcoholic, they said alcoholics are manipulative, and I'm sure drug addicts are too. It says the more you allow that alcoholic, drunk, to manipulate you, the more they hate you. Yeah, because they tell you they're manipulating you. And that really clicked with me. I'm like, oh my goodness, she's manipulating me. I knew something was going on. I knew it. And I stopped going because you know why? I'm like, I don't want to hate my mother. And now that I know this, I might hate her. She's manipulating me. And I'm like, I'm not going to this. I'm not going to this anymore. Besides, I wasn't really in an agreement with it. It's the wife of the guy that created AA. I remember when I was young and I used to see those bumper stickers, AAA. That used to be an old insurance company, American something, auto, and and I had heard about AA for a year as a child, I guess. I used to think people had those bumper stickers for AAA. I used to think, Why are they advertising that they're an alcoholic going to AAA? I thought it was called AAA, Alcoholics Anonymous Association. And I'd see that bumper sticker for insurance. It used to be an oval, circular, mirrory, shiny with 3 big red capital A's. I'm like, why are they advertising that? That's what I would be thinking in my mind. Why are they advertising that they're alcoholics? But I'd never heard of Al-Anon. But I didn't know that anything about Alcoholics Anonymous, that they have to say, I believe in a higher power and I'm an alcoholic. You don't want to confess that on yourself every single time. I heard that in a testimony too. And it's God. I'm sorry, it's God. It's Jesus Christ. God is Jesus Christ. So when people try to say, I believe in God, well, fine. If you believe in God, do you believe in Jesus Christ? Because you can't get to God unless, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, my sister, had a lot of trauma growing up with my stepmother. And she had to cope. And because she was a sweet, sweet person, you know how she coped? She sucked up to the stepmother so the stepmother wouldn't hurt her. And that eventually made her angry, but she would never show it to the stepmother. She hated the stepmother, but she tried to avoid the hate and vile viciousness. Okay, so she would suck up to her, you know, give her massages on her back with a fork. That's what she liked. Or she would, you know, oh yes, what would you like? You know, just being the obsequious stepchild. She knew she hated her. She hated all of Daddy's kids. So that's how she coped, but she hated it on the inside. And I know what she feels because I do too. I would too. She and I are a lot alike, personality wise, expression wise, looks wise. I can watch my videos and my expressions are just like hers. My eyeball, my facial. We never grew up together. You see? It's inherited. It's not a generational curse. It's just inherited, and it's soul wounds from childhood. Now, that John Eckhart, I've shared his stuff many times. You should get his books. You should listen to him, and maybe I'll link it on this interview with Jennifer Bagnashi. So I don't know what this video really is about, but you know, there's a lot of toxic people in the world, and there's a lot of toxic people in our lives, and it's like walking through landmines sometimes, because sometimes we're trapped and I couldn't get away from my mother, and I was certainly trapped kind of in a marriage, and because I had nothing, because I gave up everything. I sold my car, I gave my money to him. It was just very stupid. And but look, God blessed me. So 4 years, I'd say, total with him. Dated for 2, married for 2, 4 years. And I got a house. That's like God repaid me $25,000 a year for my pain and suffering. That's good compensation, if you ask me. And my house is worth now more, of course. But, I mean, so, not really. But the government says. But anyway, I don't care. It's my house, God's house. It's God's house. And, I don't know what I was going to say about that, but I'm just saying that, it's like walking on landmines in this world. And if you don't have the word of God, like I can try to keep my distance from him. And he stirred this up another time. And I'm like, you're right. I keep you at an arm's length. You can't be trusted. You've never tried to even prove you can be trusted. The only thing you've proved over and over and over again is that you're not trustworthy. Now, I thank you for helping me. I thank you. You're a blessing. I appreciate that. And I feel like, honestly, he does it to make himself feel better, to make himself feel good, so he doesn't have to suffer with the guilt and shame. And um, anyway, I'm not here to bash people. I'm here to give an example that sometimes we have to be in those situations. They're teaching us to depend on God. They're also teaching us, like in Proverbs, when you're a child, I don't care if you were raised on Proverbs, you're not going to understand that until you live it. Okay? So, whether I knew Proverbs as a child growing up or not, um, what if I did? And then all this happened to me in my life? Sure, could draw upon them and say, oh, this looks familiar, sounds familiar. I never understood that, but now I do, kind of deal. I probably would have had a better upbringing if I were raised on Proverbs anyway. But anyway, so as I was reading Proverbs before all this, I didn't understand a lot of them. But then when I got in that marriage, I understood a lot of them now. Or even before, when my mother, I could understand a lot of them then. I'm like, oh, this is my mother. Continual dropping on a very rainy day is a contentious woman in a broad house. Or, like the other ones. Okay. So yeah. If you guys find this helpful at all, I'm sure we all live with toxic people. Maybe you're a toxic person and you enjoy it because it's very gratifying. Well, that's wicked. So, and you're pretending it, not pretending, you're claiming Christ. Shame on that. And you ain't going to get away with that. You may look like you're getting away with it and you're flourishing like the green bay tree, all big and green, but that'll be going away. Because they all think they got it under control, and that's the biggest mistake. Because what is it? Pride comes before a fall, and how great the fall, but that's not what it says. But yeah, it's not going to be fun. Like I've said, I even heard it in a song after I said it. Might as well bow the knee now, because every knee is going to bow, and every tongue is going to confess that Christ is Lord. And you can do it now or you can do it then, but you're going to end up doing it. And you can either lay your pride down now. If you can't, I understand. You should at least say, Jesus, help me, lay it down. Rid me of this, because trust me, I know you know how bad it hurts because you're proud. It hurts horribly. You don't like feeling shame, which you should feel at times. You don't like feeling the guilt. You'll lie to yourselves to avoid the shame and guilt and the pain of swallowing humble pie. You'll never do that. Well, because it hurts too bad. Well, trust me, it's going to hurt worse when God does it to you. So if I were you, if you're mingling in with us, you better be begging God to help you out and get rid of that, because you're going to be in a world of hurt like you'll never imagine. Think of your worst nightmare. It'll be 10 times worse than that. Okay? So stop messing around with us Christians. And for you Christians out there who are afflicted by that, just know that God has a good purpose for that, because he uses those bad people in our lives to teach us to lean on him, believe him, trust him, stand on his promises, and flourish and be set free. And then when that lesson is learned, he'll sweep them away. He'll sweep them on out the door. Now, he may replace them, he may not. Me personally, I am enjoying the peace and quiet, because I had it growing up with a mother, and I had it, other times, because when you're raised in it, you kind of tend to gravitate toward that unknowingly. And not only that, then the narcissist, already you're their prey, because they can see you a mile away. That's the kind I want. That's the kind I want. That's easy prey. I can tear them up, chew them up, and spit them out and destroy them. They're wasters and destroyers. That is a Bible verse. Waster, and it's in Isaiah. I am the one who created the smith who blows the coal. So when you feel like it's flaming and like you're fanning the coals to get them to ignite into fire, that's God doing that. He says, I'm the one doing that, blowing on the coals. And he says, I create the waster to destroy. God does that. I don't know how it reads exactly. You can look it up yourself. But I used to really think about that verse. I'm like, God, you're allowing this. You are allowing this for a reason, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had to be in the fire. You guys, we're not going to get out of this life unscathed. We're not going to have baby butt skin. Our skin is going to be thick. It's going to be weathered. It's going to have gone through the tests, the fires, and the trials. And if you're too queasy, you're going to either faint or you're going to just fall off and say it's easier to be in the world. That's not as painful because sticking up for righteousness is too painful. I mean, you'll think it's the easy road, but it won't be. It's not. It's not. It's because once you're his, he will finish what he has completed in you, and he will allow it to become miserable to where you come back or cry uncle or fall on your face and say, help me, God. Or he's going to just allow you to destroy yourself and with the enemy's help. So 700 Club's on, and yeah, I can't watch it. Sometimes I'll just get it on YouTube, and if other times I'm too lazy, I'll just read my Bible instead. Okay, love you guys. Hope this helps you. And yeah, read your Bible and Psalms especially. They're very cantankerous at times, especially if you want God to really fight for you. I'll usually sometimes say, get him, God, get him. Get him, Jesus. Because he does. He says it in his Psalms. And so does King David. Okay, bye. God bless you. Bye.